Hey, we want to welcome everybody to the first edition of Inside Sunbelt Football with Paul Marini, and of course my partner in crime this year, Darren Patterson.
Is that what we call it? Partner in crime?
Partner in crime.
Partner in crime.
This year, partner in crime.
All right.
As we take a look at officially week 2 of the Sunbelt Football Conference, and going into week 3. And the Jaguars got their hands full at home this week as Mississippi State SEC rolls into Mobile, Alabama. Packed house. I hear it's going to be hopping. What's the word in Mobile, Darren?
It's going to be pretty wild. I mean, it's sold out. It's the first time Lad's been sold out. But let's talk a little bit about how they got here. They went to Kent last week and had to overcome a whole lot of adversity to get to this point. And when you think about it, they had a lot going on to lose that game. You got a bunch of people on the roster from Mississippi who were pointing toward this game. So they could have very easily overlooked what's going on tomorrow and lost the game. But you give them credit for overcoming a lot of adversity, a lot of calls they had. Brandon Bridge, the quarterback, he's got to make good decisions, especially tomorrow. Brandon is a talented athlete, but sometimes Brandon will outthink himself. And when you see that, you know that that can't happen. It can't happen tomorrow against Mississippi State, or they will go down.
And one of the things with Brandon Bridge, you kind of started seeing him coming into his own last year in the Tennessee game.
Absolutely.
When he
game they should have won.
Absolutely, should have just kind of ran out of time, and some unfortunate mistakes that South Alabama made. One of the things that they're going to have to do in tomorrow's game is limit the penalties.
Absolutely.
And try to keep the ball out of Mississippi State's quarterback's hand, who is deadly accurate if he has the time.
Yeah, Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is no joke. He's legitimate all the way. He is going to play on Sunday somewhere, some position, because he's huge, number one. And number two, he makes very good decisions. He's been around this program for a while. And you got to understand, I envision this game to be something like Alabama-West Virginia. The only way South can play with Mississippi State is to play fast. They have to play fast, but in the course of that, they've also got to play smart. West Virginia played a very fast game, and they had Alabama on their heels. But at the same time, they did some things that kind of shot themselves in the foot. Alabama was still a very good team, like Mississippi State is, but they're going to have to play fast tomorrow, South, and they're going to have to play smart. The defense in particular is going to have to mix up some things to confuse Dak Prescott.
And if you're also South, you're going to have to get Kendall Houston running early in the match or in the game and keep that. We're not going to be able to go to a one-dimensional style offense at all in that game. They're going to have to keep it balanced.
Totally agree. And
they're going to have to keep Mississippi State on their toes. The X factor in this game, Mother Nature.
Mother Nature's going to rain.
If it rains on this game,
it's going to rain.
It takes the sting
out of the speed.
And also the accuracy of Mississippi State's quarterback throwing the ball in bad weather.
Absolutely. I also look for Jay Jones. Jay Jones had a good game last week, and Jay Jones is from Mississippi. He's a real diminutive back, but he's really quick. He hits the hole really fast, and once he gets through the hole, he knows exactly where he's going. He can make a lot of people miss, and he can hit a home run like that. So he's going to be a key on offense. But South also has some big-time receivers. You know, you got the Alabama transfers, Marvin Shen and Danny Woodson, who's healthy again.
Not to mention the tight end. To work the tight end who has been phenomenal for 2 years.
He's been phenomenal for 2 years, and you're going to need him tomorrow. But I do look for Marvin Shen and Danny Woodson to put up some numbers tomorrow. They have to. They have to.
Now, my question to you, Darren, is on the defensive side of the football, is South Alabama's defense going to be stingy enough, or are they even have the capability to be stingy enough to limit the amount of opportunities Mississippi State has to put points on the board?
We don't know. We'll know tomorrow. You know that Mississippi State's going to try to run the ball. You know that. They're going to try to come out. They got a big offensive front. I think the offensive front averages almost 310 pounds or something like that. And they're going to try to run the ball, and they're going to try to run the ball down South Alabama's throat until South finds a way to stop them. So you're going to have to come with some zone blitzes. You're going to have to come with some pressure from the outside, because you cannot let Dak Prescott get outside.
Absolutely.
You can't let him get outside. If he gets outside, he's going to hurt you real bad.
And containment's going to be incredibly
Containment's
important.
gonna be a key.
Keeping it home, not over pursuing. Like, the thing that I noticed with South against Kent is our speed put us in trouble.
Yes.
With over pursuit of the plays.
Absolutely. You saw the same thing I did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And our first step being not necessarily. We're trying to read the play too quick and making decisions too fast on the defensive side of the ball. Now, a lot of that is that because it was the first game of the year, the jitters, tired of hitting one another, or is it just the fact that, South's going to have to settle down fast in this environment, which they've never played in front of, this many people, and the cowbells are going to be running wild. Starkville's just a couple-hour drive up the road.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I've been told, and I've never seen it for myself, but I've been told the cowbells can rattle a team.
I've been to Starkville. I've seen the cowbells. It's something like out of some weird Space Odyssey 2001. I mean, everybody in the stadium has cowbells. Now, there'll be a few here tomorrow, but they won't nearly match what happens in Starkville. Everybody's got cowbells. As a matter of fact, at one point, I don't know which coach it was, but somebody, it's easy to say it probably was Nick Saban, but some coach wanted the cowbells banned in Starkville.
Yeah, I remember.
Because they were actually a disruption. They thought it's a disruption, terrible disruption. But, it's football, man. I mean, the cowbells don't win games. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Athletes win games.
It has to be done between the lines.
It's got to be done between the lines. You can have all the cowbells. You can bring out cannons. You can bring out lasers. I don't care what. You still got to play the game.
Absolutely. And I want to thank our show host.
Am I getting paid? Am I getting paid for this?
It's in the mail.
Okay.
Didn't you check the mailbox today?
I haven't checked the mail today.
It was there.
Okay.
I hope your neighbors didn't take it like they did the last three.
My neighbors, they got my barbecue grill, so I don't know. Yeah.
I'm just telling you, I've told you many times about checking the mail before you come to the shooting.
I'll check it, Paul.
But we want to thank the Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott here in Spanish Fort, Alabama for giving us this great studio to shoot in tonight. Yeah. And we want to take special thanks to Gary, our man behind the soundboard, running the cameras. Without him, this is not possible.
Absolutely.
And we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to break down Arkansas State, Tennessee, New Mexico State, Georgia State, and Campbell and Appalachian State.
All right.
And we'll be back after these messages from our sponsors.
The Courtyard Mobile Spanish Fort offers ideal accommodations for business or leisure travel. Enjoy a hearty breakfast or dinner at our Bistro Cafe. When looking for Gulf Shore accommodations for corporate travel, weekend getaways, or family vacations, you'll find first-rate service and a friendly staff at the Courtyard Mobile Spanish Fort. When looking for an Alabama Eastern Shore hotel, you'll find ideal accommodations at Fairfield Inn and Suites. Staying fit is easy with our indoor pool and fitness center. Our hotel offers suites with separate living and sleeping areas, luxurious bedding, complimentary internet, and free local calls.
Everybody back to Inside Sunbelt Football, coming to you live from the Fairfield Inn and Suites in Spanish Fort, Alabama, just across the causeway from Ladd Peebles Stadium, as Mr. Wise so kindly reminded me, about 10-15 minutes from the stadium.
About 10 or 15 minutes from here, straight down the freeway, through the tunnel, up to Virginia Street, take a right, boom.
There you are.
Yeah.
Best price in town, too, guys. If you're going to come for the game, be sure to call Shannon and her group here at Fairfield Inn and Suites, and be sure to book you a room. Darren, Arkansas State, Tennessee, 34-19. This was a good game for about 30 seconds. And then it just went way south than I thought it was going to go.
Yeah. Arkansas State, it really shocked a lot of people. I look for them to play better tomorrow. I don't think that Miami is nearly as good as their their reputation. You know, they may talk a good game. I saw them last week. I look for Arkansas State to actually play a good game. And you know, one thing I like about predictions is that they're just what we feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not saying that if Arkansas State comes in and gets blown out that, you know, I'm eating crow or anything. I actually feel as though Arkansas State has the moxie.
Moxie's a good word to use right now.
Arkansas State has the moxie to walk in there and play a good game tomorrow, and that's what I'm looking for from them.
Well, I actually thought that they were going to go in and give Tennessee all they could handle.
Tennessee right now is an interesting animal. We'll find out more about Tennessee tomorrow. You know, tomorrow. Tennessee, forgot who they're playing.
I don't know. It's not Florida, which it usually is in the third week.
I remember the opponent, and when I saw the opponent, is it BYU?
No, we could ask our SEC guys if they're paying attention who Tennessee plays tomorrow.
Is it BYU? Tennessee's at BYU tomorrow?
Plays Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
we're going to find out a whole lot about Tennessee
Yeah, I
tomorrow.
remember when I saw the opponent, I couldn't remember who it was, but when I saw the opponent, I'm like, okay, now we will know about Tennessee and whether Butch Jones has them going in the right direction, because he's a heck of a coach.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, I think the Vol fans are hoping and wishing that it was Florida instead of Oklahoma in week 3.
Yeah, a lot of people are predicting Oklahoma to be one of the Final Four. You do know that.
I do know that, and I don't think I could argue with them at this point.
Not what I've seen so far.
You know, Oklahoma looks very impressive.
Yeah.
Next on our list of games, talk about New Mexico State, Georgia State. This was a game, Darren, that I thought Georgia State had to win.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that it's going to kill their season, but they barely got by the Abilene Christian.
Right.
Barely got by Abilene Christian.
Right.
Didn't show up really. You know, I mean, they should have handled New Mexico State pretty easily, and they just didn't. And
yeah, that's,
you know,
that's very telling too, because New Mexico State, they don't recruit. The athletes that they recruit are your second and third tier athletes, and for them to come out and play the game they did play.
If you're Trent Miles, you're just pulling your hair out after that game, because
Absolutely.
that game against New Mexico State opened so many doors for your team, and what it did for him was it showed him where his weaknesses lie, and there's a lot of them on the defensive side of the football if you're Georgia State.
Yeah, Georgia State is they should be okay in this game. You know, like I said, you know, it's they're gonna, if they don't play down to their level, they'll be okay. If they don't play down to the level, but sometimes you come in and you play down to the level of your opponent, and that gets you in a lot of trouble.
And unfortunately, I think they did that in both games.
Yes.
And it cost them in both games. You know, in Georgia State this is an important year for them. I mean,
Yes,
this is their third year.
Absolutely.
And with South Alabama, we noticed the third year was kind of rough for them.
Right.
But we picked up wins we should have picked up, and we got a couple that we didn't pick up. And Georgia State, they're not getting the wins they should win. And playing in a city which houses the Falcons,
Right.
Georgia Tech, Georgia State.
Georgia's 50 miles away.
Yeah, in Athens.
in
if you're not
Athens, yeah.
winning, you're in trouble.
Well-
and they're playing in the dome, and you know it's tough when you play in an empty building anyhow.
I almost believe that the dome works against them. They need a venue that they can hang their hat on. They can call their own. You know, like you said, they've got a lot of competition. South's the only game in town.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, it's Ladd Stadium is their stadium.
Right.
When Georgia State walks into the Georgia Dome, you know, what's the place host? 60, 70, 80,000?
Yeah, and they
they're
have
playing
12.
They're playing to 10 or 12,000 people. That's different. South went down and beat Tulane last year in the Superdome, and they had more fans there than Tulane had. And they said that actually spurred them on to know that people cared enough to follow them on the road like that. So I really think the venue that Georgia State plays really kind of hurts them playing at Georgia Dome. They really need to find another venue to play that best suits their program.
And they need to do it quickly. Because when they get into year 4,
Right.
they now become bowl eligible.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and once you become bowl eligible, it's no different than at South Alabama, what we saw in year 4.
Right.
When they started to make that transition and becoming bowl eligible,
Right.
the topic switched from, oh, great, we beat some of these teams that, it was fun,
Right.
to why aren't we going to a bowl game? Why aren't we? Even the questions that Coach Jones had to fill in years 4, 5, and now into year
Right.
6, if
Right.
I'm not mistaken,
Right.
were
Started
much
in 09.
different.
Yeah.
You know.
One thing a lot of people overlook about Joey is really bright. He really is. He has always had a great football mentality. But South studied UCF. Remember that when Joey was
Yeah.
telling us that?
Right.
South actually went to Central Florida and studied their program, and now we all know what Central Florida is.
Right.
Central Florida is
Making noise everywhere.
They're making noise everywhere. I mean, they go to Penn State last year and win. They can
And
play.
not to mention they won the bowl game.
Won the
Big
bowl game.
they won.
can go any place and win. And I see South. I see this right now in South Alabama. I see them as I was thinking the other day, they really need a bell cow recruit. If they could get a Herschel Walker, somebody
Right.
commit. If Joey could talk that one guy into coming here who could get some other people to follow. They're not that far away, Paul. And this is no homerism. I care less sometimes about who wins.
And you're right,
Yeah.
because the thing is if you look at the talent that has been transferring in,
Mm-hmm.
it is those guys that are on the bubble at Alabama.
Right,
It
right.
is those guys that's on the bubble at Georgia.
Right.
And when I say the bubble, it's those guys that are one play away from being a starter.
Absolutely.
And they're
Absolutely.
just getting tired of sitting in the background, and they're looking at where they can possibly go.
Kids want to play. They want to play.
And Joey gives them that
gives them an
opportunity.
opportunity to
And
play.
I'm going to tell you, it's not just Joey, because if you look all around the Sun Belt, we're seeing this more and more
Right.
as these kids are transferring into Sun Belt football, and the level of play in the Sun Belt
Yes.
is slowly starting to creep up with
picked up.
Conference USA, which they've beat a couple years now in
Yeah.
different bowl games.
Absolutely. Louisiana Monroe goes and beats Arkansas last year,
Absolutely.
which we found out that Arkansas wasn't, all that.
Yeah, but they played Auburn really
Played
good
them
up to
tough.
the last
Played them
minute,
tough, but-
and South did the same with Tennessee.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Arkansas State has done it a couple of times.
Absolutely.
So, and what I saw with a perfect example is going to be Louisiana Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody said when Braxton left last year
Mm-hmm.
that was it. They were going to be back in the cellar. But the quarterback they had coming in, he's a little spark plug.
Yeah.
He's just as good. The fact is he just sat on the bench and nobody knew.
Yeah.
And they put
Yeah.
him in, and this is what happened.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that throughout the entire Sun Belt Conference.
Yeah.
These guys who are that one play away, they may have fumbled, in a preseason game or in an exhibition game, and the coach said, "Well, I don't trust his hands."
Yes.
So he's on the bench.
Absolutely.
But at South Alabama or at Arkansas State or at New Mexico State or Idaho, we trust his hands. Let's put him in until he shows us we can't trust him.
And the pressure, there's not a lot of pressure on these teams to make it to the Final Four. I doubt we're going to see a Sun Belt team in the Final Four.
Well, hold that thought, because
Yeah.
in the last half of the show, that's what I want to talk about.
All right.
But let's hold that thought about that there, and let's look at the next game on the agenda, which is Appalachian State and Campbell.
The Camels. Is that their nickname?
It is now.
The Campbell Camels.
We'll go with it because it just sounds right.
Paul, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I didn't even know they had a football team.
I knew they had a football team because I think they're called the Camels.
Okay, well, do we agree Appalachian State's the Mountaineers?
Appalachian State, the Mounties. They're from up
Mounties
in
is
North
whatever.
Carolina. Yeah.
Okay.
I was at the game when they beat Michigan.
So 66-0
Yeah.
is the score of this game.
It was brutal.
If you are Appalachian State, you're now a Sun Belt team. Do you need to purge your schedule of schools like Campbell rapidly?
That's a good question. Because the Campbells are what the App States and South Alabamas used to be.
Right.
So we understand what they're trying to do. So now, whereas when South would go to Tennessee and collect that $300,000-$400,000 paycheck,
Right.
Now the Campbells, you get them to come in and you get basically a live scrimmage, man. For your kids to play against, and they're getting the money to come in and take their beating. So it's really, I guess it's cyclical. Everything is cyclical. You're always going to have up and coming teams that want what you've got, and somebody gave South a chance. Somebody brought them in. Look at the huge chance Mississippi State. I give Mississippi State a lot of credit for coming here tomorrow. I really do, because this is a dangerous game.
Oh, it is. This is a trick game.
This is a very dangerous game against a dangerous team that is waiting for them to walk on the field. And I give Mississippi State a lot of credit. I think people now are realizing, Tennessee was glad to see South get out of there last year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But what I'm concerned with, if you're App State, is if you have too many of these games now, now App State's going to be bidding for a bowl soon. Soon. And you got to get used to playing not such cupcake games, because it's important. And one of the things that I will tip my hat to Coach Jones with, and Joel Erdman,
Dr. Erdman,
is they got rid of cupcakes. Look at the schedule. I think if you kick South Alabama's schedule up against anybody in the Sun Belt, their non-conference games are probably some of the toughest.
I would say so. I haven't really looked at the entire slate.
This year alone, we're looking at
South Carolina, Navy,
Mississippi State, South Carolina, Navy.
Right.
And then on top of that, you have your conference games, which are no slouches.
Right, absolutely.
Anymore.
Arkansas State, Louisiana Monroe,
Louisiana Lafayette.
And they're still picked to finish third, no worse than third in the conference.
Right.
So that means that South's program got respect very quickly. And a lot of that is what they did last year. They finished the game on a 6-0 run, I believe.
Yeah.
And
became bowl eligible.
Became bowl eligible and very, very easily could have gone. I've talked with Joey about this. He has a very clear vision of what he wants. And that's the one thing I like about him. He has a clear vision, and the good thing about it is he's able to translate his vision to his coaches, who are able to translate his vision at their positions to their players. And the players, that's what I tell you about last week, Paul, they could have very easily walked into Kent State and lost that game looking forward to tomorrow. Yeah.
Right.
That was very easy. And that got my attention. That got my attention what Joey's doing.
Well, I'll tell you, what really got my attention in that game, and I know we spent a lot of time on South Alabama, but, it is our school.
South Alabama, yeah.
What got my attention was when we needed to go down and put points on the board this year. Brandon Bridge was able to go down,
correct,
and put together a drive and execute it and get those points.
He has to keep that up.
And the other thing is I saw a lot of last year. We waited for the OC to show us his plan. Show me what you're going to do. We heard the stories. We didn't see it until probably week 6, 7 when he really started to come together.
Right.
But right off the bat this year, his game plan has been effective.
Joey effectively made the right changes in his approach to the staff, and tweaked the staff to do what he wanted to do and what he wanted to get out of these guys. And that's what I'm saying. You have to give, Joey doesn't get enough credit. And I go way back with Joey when he was at Murphy High School playing. He had a mentality about him playing football. 5'8",
Right.
He still got scorch marks on the field at Ladd Stadium that are still there, where he just ran away from people. Joey has always played the game smart. He played the game smart at Alabama when he and Jesse Bendros were paired up there. He played the game smart when he was in the USFL. And, when you have a handicap, I won't call his size a handicap, but when you're at a disadvantage, you find other ways to defeat your opponent. Joey and I, when I talk to him, I always quote Sun Tzu, The Art of War. The most satisfying victory is one where you don't have to engage your opponent. You do it all cerebrally.
Right.
And that's what Joey does a lot of that. He does a lot of that.
Well, how do you feel, because you obviously have a very good relationship with Joey Jones, and one of the things that I hear so much is Joey's going to be gone soon. Joey's going to be gone soon. Somebody's going to get Joey Jones. Somebody's going to take him from South Alabama. As that starts to trickle in and more people, how uncomfortable does that make you feel that might actually be a reality? Should he have another big season this year, go to a bowl game, be successful in that bowl game. Do you see this as a very temporary stop, or do you think Joey really enjoys being here, roots are down, and this is where he tends to be as long as, and it's like anything, you hate to throw the financial end of it, but as long as the money's right.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Joey loves Mobile. It's his home. He loves South Alabama. He loves what this program is doing. But Paul, like anything else, it's all about it's a business. Now, Joey wouldn't make a lateral move, and by lateral move, I'm talking about to Conference USA, something like that. It would have to be a situation for Joey that he feels is best for his family. This is just me talking.
Right.
Of course, I have talked to him a little bit about this. Joey loves Mobile. There's a lot of things that's holding him here. Would he go? I don't know. Would you go if the money was right?
Obviously, I think if the money was right, you have to weigh a few things.
Situation was right.
And his children, they're in school.
Right.
And
he's still a young guy.
He is young, and I think with Joey is he done with what he wants to do at South? And I think that will weigh into his decision making more than anything. I think this is his baby. He was here at birth. He raised South Alabama football program. He was the first coach. He was there when they were breaking ground on buildings. He was bringing in the first set of coaches. My question is, will he stay until he feels his work is done?
Well, thank you for the question that I'll ask him tomorrow. That's a good question.
Well, I'm glad I could help you out, because I probably wouldn't have got that.
I want to know, Joey, what is your vision? What do you want to do? And I've never really asked him that question. Because
win or lose tomorrow, if he goes out and he has a good performance, one thing that I like about Coach Jones is win or lose, if they go out and they play well and they execute well and they just get beat because they're playing a better team, he's not going to be down on his guys.
Absolutely. He has a way of motivating his guys, and you saw last year when he came to when he made the 6-0 run at the end of the year. He has a way, man. I'm telling you, there's something about this guy. And I just can't. I'm not saying he's the Messiah or anything like that, but he has a way of communicating with his players and that's what coaching is about. We can all get good players. We can all get good players. But who can motivate their players to play for them? You hear this thing about players coach all the time. Well, what's a players coach? A coach that players want to play for? If you were on a team where you have a coach, you play for that coach, or you'll be sitting on the bench. But a coach who can get the most out of his people is really a top guy, and he gets the most out of these guys, man. How he does it, don't know really. Never really been in some of his pep talks, but I have an idea just talking to him myself, the kind of things that he conveys to these players.
Well, one thing that I've always noticed is on social media, you'll see the former players always have something positive to say. They've always got a vested interest in what's going on with the future players.
Right.
For me, I'm looking forward to next week. Me and Ken are going to go to New Mexico State LSU.
You taking Ken with you?
I'm going to take Ken with me, and we're going to go down to that game.
Do you have bail money?
But I'm going to see Courtney Smith hopefully on the way.
Okay.
Because he's playing with the Voodoo.
Okay.
Former South, and I'm going to get in there and see if we can't, get Ken tame before we get to Baton Rouge.
Tell Courtney I'll say hey.
You tell Courtney to say, I'll give you his number before I leave.
All right,
I'm sure,
cool.
Courtney loves to hear from all of us.
Oh yeah, that's a good thing.
But we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Louisiana Lafayette La Tech game. That game surprised me. I expected that game to go differently, and then we'll talk about that a little bit. Georgia Southern, Savannah State, and I don't even want to give you the score of that game, but we'll talk about that, and then of course we'll wrap up with the last two games from last week: Troy Duke and Idaho, and Louisiana Monroe.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and throw it now to our sponsors, and we'll be back after this commercial break.
Excellent.
Red Cat Racing, Fast. Affordable. Fun. Now available at 8730 RC Park and Hobby Shop, Pensacola, Florida.
At Tri-State Tree Service, we know that it's hard to find the time and the equipment to adequately take care of your trees and bushes. We service residential and commercial clients with tree trimming, removal, shrub and bush care. We are fully licensed and insured to ensure quality. Tri-State Tree Service. Call us today.
Second half of Inside Sunbelt Football with, of course, Paul Marini and my man Darren Patterson.
Good to see you, Paul.
It's good to see you too, Darren. I didn't think you were going to make it. I made the phone call. I got the text that I'm on my way.
Yeah.
I've got them before, though.
Oh, yeah.
Ken does that, and I don't see him for 3 hours.
No, me and Sandy, we were riding, man. We gone down the road riding.
Then
I said,
you show up here.
This is not the place, and you said it's not the place.
Yeah, and then you show up here and talk about, well, I'm going to McDonald's. By the way, McDonald's, the bill's in the mail for the plug.
Thank you.
How was that McDonald's? Pretty good?
It was good. We went to Wendy's.
Wendy's? Well, you told me McDonald's.
I didn't make it.
See, now we're setting each other
Okay,
wrong.
I got you.
I see.
It's all right. I see how you roll.
What you really went to Hooters. You just don't want your wife.
It's okay.
Yeah, I know how you are.
It's okay.
All right, we're going to keep it on rolling. Savannah State, Georgia Southern, it's on your list there.
Is it really?
Imaginary list I gave you. 83-9.
Wow. You think they really didn't take their foot off the gas on that, or?
Do you think Georgia Southern's maybe saying, hey, we're in the Sun Belt now, and we're going to show you what we can do?
Yeah.
Maybe they could have picked somebody other than Savannah State to show how good they are.
Well, you know, I'm almost with you that the Sun Belt teams are looking to make statements. I don't know if they really went out to put that many points on the board, but, you know, the old thing is that when a coach throws the ball out and tells his team to go play, you don't tell them to stop. I mean, the second string is trying to score. The third string is trying to score.
Yeah, because they want to be second string.
They want to be second string, but the bottom line is that they're playing football.
Absolutely.
And what they say, if you don't like it, keep them out of the end zone.
Well, apparently that didn't happen at all in this game.
Yeah.
They ran up 83 points on Savannah State. Georgia Southern comes to Alabama next week.
Yeah.
Next week.
Yeah. You know, they've always played Alabama tough for a quarter. I think I remember, if I'm just going from memory now, maybe a couple of years ago they played them tough for a quarter, and I think I don't know if that's the game Justin Fowler got hurt in. You're always careful about these type games because you don't want to take a team for granted. You don't want to not put your best foot forward, but man, you really hate to come out of there with a couple of injuries to key players, you know, when you know it's a game that's not going to do anything toward conference championship. But you need to come out of this game having played well and keep everybody healthy.
Now, here's on the other hand. It's another way to look at this 83-9 score.
Okay.
They have Georgia Tech this week.
Yes.
Why not get as much work in as you can?
Do we really know how good Georgia Tech is? Did you see them last week?
I didn't see Georgia Tech last week. But Georgia Tech traditionally has a pretty good football team, and the triple option, if they're still running it,
they ran some last week.
It's like Novocaine. If they run it enough, it's gonna put you to sleep, and you're gonna score. You know?
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. But I mean, we really don't know yet how good Georgia Tech is. I think everybody's waiting to see how good Georgia Tech is, how good, dare I say, LSU, who really acquitted themselves well in the first game when they came back from 21 down or something like that.
Yeah.
I think, we're in the week 2 here, okay, and we're trying to see. We're still sorting some things out. That's why it's important right now for teams to establish their identity. I cannot tell you how much I'm looking forward to tomorrow to see what South does, how they establish an identity against Mississippi State, how they handle adversity, because there's going to be some adversity.
From the very first snap?
There's going to be some adversity. It was adversity when Mississippi State got off the bus. So it's going to be some adversity, man. So we have to figure out exactly how they handle it. And these are the things that teams like South, other teams in the Sun Belt, Campbell Camels, we need to see how they handle this thing.
How important, Darren, in your opinion, is it for Sun Belt teams to align themselves early in the season with games like Mississippi State, Tennessee, Florida, Auburn, Georgia, which you see next week we have a team going to Georgia and playing. How important is it for these teams under the new playoff system, which we'll talk about in the final segment, to schedule these dominant teams to where if they do pick up a win, what does it do for them down the line when Condoleezza Rice is sitting there looking at her paperwork going, how am I going to put in this championship game? Is it important at all or not?
They can impact, well, the way they play can impact Condoleezza Rice's decision. It can impact Pat Hayden's decision. It can impact. You see Pat Hayden last week run on the field at Southern Cal.
I did.
Hey, Pat, come down. I got a problem here. He runs down, and what's up with that?
He's still coaching.
Yeah, but you cannot do that. But that's another story. It's the way these Sun Belt teams.
Did, though.
He did. We'll talk about that.
Last segment.
The way
Go
these
back to your
teams play, these Sun Belt teams, these teams from conferences like the Sun Belt, they can impact how the decision is going to be made based on the way these teams performed against these visiting teams that came in. It's really an important time in the Sun Belt Conference. South's been playing, 3 years now? And they're picked to finish no worse than third. And some people are saying that they actually can win this conference. That's no small accomplishment, man.
But if you look at where South is this year, this is their best opportunity to date to win the Sun Belt Conference.
To date.
The schedule is they've got the right teams at the right time. And when I say that is we hit the expansion teams at home, with the exception of Idaho. We're hitting these teams when we are looking to be our best. We have 2 players on the Senior Bowl watch list right now. We have probably the best quarterback, potential-wise, that we've had yet with Bridge.
Most athletic quarterback.
And I think he has the most potential to make things happen himself, which he showed to do against Kent. There's a couple of opportunities there where he had to make the play happen.
Right.
And my pick in our picks, as we do every year, we pick where we think these teams are going to finish up. We do it 2 weeks before the season starts, and I put South 4th on my list. I had Arkansas State 1, Troy 2. Now I have to revisit that because Arkansas State did not look very good.
No.
And Troy looked horrible against Duke.
Yes.
Horrible. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's Duke. It's a big ACC team.
Yeah.
But Duke is a team that Conference USA, Sun Belt should be able to run with. Maybe not beat, but should be able to keep up with
I don't know
them.
if I agree with that, Paul. I really don't know.
Well, that's the first thing you've disagreed with.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. Cutcliffe he's really done some things with Duke that I'm even shocked at.
But it's Duke.
Okay, there you go. See, you're thinking it's Duke. But Cutcliffe has done some things with Duke that you cannot just say it's Duke. I mean, he's going out. He's got some athletes, especially on defense.
He does have a good defense.
He's got some people on defense, and that's where you start. And we talked about it before. A lot of these players are going where they can play.
Right.
Why would they go to North Carolina if they're going to sit behind a guy they think they're better than? Why would they go to North Carolina State if they've got somebody that they're going to sit behind? Why would they go down to Clemson, if they're not going to play? So you go to Duke. And Cutcliffe's pitch and Joey Jones's pitch is come to Duke, come to South Alabama. You can make a name for yourself. That's how you walk in and you get these guys to come out of their living rooms and you enjoy it. And that's another thing about Joey. Joey's a good recruiter. He can walk in and make you feel like he's part of your family.
And I've been told, and I've always wanted to ask Joey, but I've heard Joey makes a lot of these trips himself.
He does. He really does.
He doesn't. He obviously has to send the coaching staff out.
Right.
But if it's a kid they want,
Joey's an old homeboy, man. When you talk to him, he's got that southern drawl, and and,
he does.
Yeah, and he comes in and he makes you feel like he's part of the family. He's just a good guy, and he's a good recruiter. And these are the things that the David Cutcliffes, the Joey Joneses, I forgot the guy who was at UCF when Joey was down there coaching somebody's son. These were good recruiters. And plus two, don't forget, the talent pool. The talent pool in Florida is supporting 4 or 5 universities.
Right.
The talent pool in Alabama is supporting 3, 4 good programs, up and coming programs, South Troy, Alabama, Auburn, and the talent pool is something that you cannot deny. Look at what's happening in Texas. Nobody wants to play Kevin Sumlin anymore. Les Miles may be out here going to Michigan because he's not going to beat Nick Saban or Kevin Sumlin. He's not. So this may be Les's time to go because Brady Hoke is out of there after what happened at Notre Dame last week.
Right.
So, these are the kind of things that, you have to watch and pay attention to. These kids want to play. They want to be seen on
today.
They want to play today. They want to play as freshmen. I've got a nephew down at Coastal Carolina in Myrtle Beach, road trip. He's redshirted. He walked in thinking that he was going to play. He felt like he could play right away. First practice, he got the snot knocked out of him by a junior who was physically ready to play the game, and he realized, I'm not ready to play. I'm not ready to play. Red shirt, So now his plan is to sit, get some things together, and come back next year as a redshirt freshman and get some playing time.
And it's funny that you say that they want to be seen.
Yes.
Because this thing is going on, and I'm just going to spend 2 seconds on it because it's kind of leads right into what you're talking about. High school ball today. There's a situation going on at Escambia High School in Pensacola, Florida. Me and you talked about it briefly.
Right.
Where they had 6 kids transfer because they wanted to play. But one of the reasons they transferred was they wanted to be seen because Escambia was broadcasting all their games live over the internet.
Yeah. I mean, come on now. ESPN calls the shots on when you kick off. ESPN says the kickoff will be at 7:38 and 30 seconds. And that kickoff is at 7:38 and 30 seconds.
Right.
Because of the money. The money. I'm not equating that to high school. That we just talking about the exposure with.
Right. Yeah. The exposure.
But the exposure and the money calls the shots on this thing, man. We have come so far. We have come so far from where we used to be, in terms of TVs and networks, and now we got the SEC network, man. Have you seen this thing?
Absolutely.
SEC network, the Big Ten network, the Pac-12 network, the Boogie Boogie network. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all about the money, man. And these kids now are exposed to things, man, we couldn't have possibly been exposed to when we were in school. They got ESPN, they got replays, they got John Gruden sitting there breaking down the quarterback thing and tell me about this Z-flat fly X trap. You know what I mean? They got more resources, Paul, and so they want to be seen.
Absolutely. Next game before we run out of time in this segment, La Tech and Louisiana Lafayette.
You said La Tech?
Yeah, Louisiana Tech and Louisiana Lafayette. 48-20, Louisiana Tech went in there and handled Mark Hudspeth and his team. I really thought that Louisiana Lafayette was going to bring a better 1-2 punch than they showed against Louisiana.
Really?
Yeah, I really did.
You have to call me on these things, Paul. You really have to call me beforehand. La Tech has a really nice program.
Well, I understand it, but so does Louisiana Lafayette. You're playing at home.
They're all right.
And you're playing. Broadway's more than all right.
All right, but La Tech, they went somewhere last year and beat Houston or somebody. I can't remember who it was, but I remember the scenarios. I may not remember the game, but I remember when it happened. I'm like, wow, that's pretty good performance. I don't know how many they had back, but that told me that program was going in the right direction. So it wasn't surprising, let's put it that way. It wasn't surprising that they went in and did what they did. And yes, it could have been somewhat surprising that Monroe, was it?
Lafayette.
Lafayette. Lafayette didn't.
Now, I wouldn't have been surprised if it was up in Monroe.
Right.
But to going into the Raging Cajuns,
Yeah.
and
a good
especially
program.
Broadway is the real deal. He's a great quarterback.
Right.
And the team responds to him,
I didn't see the game.
and they looked horrible.
Didn't see the game, but a lot of times when this stuff, if the things start snowballing, man, you got to stop it, or it can really roll on you. And I'm not sure what happened. Like I said, didn't see the game on that one, but
It was ugly.
it was ugly.
It was ugly. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the short dump passes. They couldn't stop anything. And Louisiana Tech just ran up one side of the field and down the other on them.
Wow.
But expected better showing, at least I did, from Lafayette than what they showed. And that was the two surprise games last week for me was New Mexico State beating Georgia State in the Dome. I thought, like I told you, that Trent Miles' boys, they needed that win. That was not a game you could let slip by.
Yeah, you need that one. You can't let those games go when you got them. You gotta take them to the house.
And then I really felt that Lafayette was gonna, if not beat them, at least give them a game.
Right.
And they didn't manage to do any of that.
Right.
But anyhow, we have a couple minutes left. Let's look at this week's schedule, which you have, and kind of go through it. We'll give you guys our predictions.
Okay. Tell me about Air Force, Georgia State.
That's going to be. I'm going to take Air Force all day long. I don't think that Trent Miles' guys are ready to. I just don't think they're ready for a team like Air Force.
Yeah, Air Force.
Air Force is just going to be too strong.
Yeah, it's like Navy. Navy comes to play South last game of the year, and Navy was ready for some things last week, and they just couldn't. They couldn't hold on.
Navy's an interesting team.
They
though,
really are.
Because with Navy,
Coached well.
they're very well coached. They're a very disciplined team.
Navy.
But with Navy, you either get the great Navy or you get the mediocre Navy. You never get the Navy that hits, on 2 of the 3 points of the game.
Right. I'm looking for South to play them well because of what happened up there last year.
Oh, absolutely. I do too.
Yeah, South Bloom. I mean, South got
And I
blown
look
away.
for it to be a packed game because of all the military installations we have around here.
Absolutely.
I expect to see a great turnout for that one.
Absolutely. Georgia Tech -17 over Georgia Southern.
Does that surprise you?
No.
That they're only giving.
No. I think Georgia Southern may cover. I think they may cover, but I think Georgia Tech will win the game. Arkansas State, 16.5 dogs at Miami.
Well, I think that. I mean, you said earlier you thought that if there was a game Arkansas could go in and steal,
play
that
well.
would be it.
Yeah, that's 16.5 points. That's way too much. South, 13. Well, we'll wait for that one. Let's do that one last.
Okay.
Western Michigan at one of my favorite.
The Vandals?
The Vandals, man. Idaho, Idaho's a 3-point dog going in at home, looks like. I don't know. Western Michigan, I used to be up and personal with that program, and they have a decent program. Idaho's one of those games and one of those teams where you go in that dome, you're up in Moscow,
It's just cold.
Well, it's not cold in September, but
It's cold.
You're a million miles away.
Moscow.
You're a million miles away from everything, and you're almost like in a third world country, man. I mean, there's no Idahoans in here, but you're almost like in a third world country, going
Billy, don't listen. He didn't mean to offend you back there, Billy.
So, but I look for Western Michigan to probably go there and play well. Idaho, I'll take them at home. UL Lafayette, Ole Miss, almost 30 points. Ole Miss is getting 30 points, man. Giving 30 points, 27 points. I don't think they'll cover that. I don't either. No, that's a lot.
It is for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I just don't think they'll cover it. I could be wrong. I don't think they'll cover that. Vanderbilt's a horrible team.
That is an amazing story.
Yeah, it is.
How the Franklin can be gone, not even a full year.
Yeah.
And that team just crumbled.
Fell apart. Have no idea why. But that's a lot of points. And the UL guys got to be looking at this like, okay, really? Okay. Almost 30 points. Come on.
That is that's locker room material if I ever saw it.
Speaking of locker room material, I was looking at the headline in the press register this morning, and I don't know who wrote it, but he's probably not Joey Jones' good friend today. It says, Jags ready to rip Southern Miss. And you know that Joey, like I said, though, locker room material is overrated because the players are the ones who do this thing. But 13 points, I'll take South in the points in this one.
Yeah, I think it's gonna come down to again, if it's raining. If it rains, this thing could go.
And they say it's going to rain.
This thing could very easily go in South's direction. Because I think South
could go south in a hurry.
It could.
I like it. You like that?
It could. Yeah, you led right into that. It was beautiful.
Okay.
But I really think it could play right into South Alabama's strengths.
Could be right, Paul. I'm sure Joey hopes so too. I'm
I think speed's going to get them. I think their offensive line is so big that our defensive line at South is very quick. And I think that first step is going to put them in the backfield more than Mullins wants them to be back there. Now, whether or not they're effective once they get back there, they'll at least disturb things enough to make it interesting.
We just want to hope that they calm down, because they're going to be jacked.
Oh yeah,
they're going to be jacked. And usually in a situation like this, Mississippi State's probably going to throw a couple of haymakers early. That's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
A couple of haymakers, and South has to be able to take the haymakers, calm down, and play football.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what that's what I envision happening in this game. I look for Mississippi State to hit them early. I wouldn't be surprised if Mississippi State goes up a couple touchdowns early, but to see how it comes out.
And I just hope everybody hangs around to wait for the final finale, because it's going to be nasty. It's going to be raining. There's going to be a few delays. I just got that feeling. We're going to get the lightning popping tomorrow a little bit.
I've learned not to walk out on games. I couldn't walk out on games because I was in the press box, but I've learned not to give up on games.
Yeah, we learned the hard way a couple years ago, me and Ken.
South Alabama game?
Yeah, we left early. They were being clobbered, and we turned on the radio. We're sitting on the causeway, and the next thing you know, they tie the game.
My favorite one was I wasn't working that weekend. I was at Michigan, Colorado in the big house in Ann Arbor when Cordell Stewart was the quarterback, and I'm gone, man, and I'm running down the street, and people are like, ah! I'm like, what happened? Well, they lost the last play of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you just don't do that, man. You don't do that. You have to kind of hang on. So.
How about the game we're going to send our guys to? Billy and Jonathan are going to be at LSU tomorrow night covering the Louisiana Monroe LSU game.
I'll take
31.
I'll take Monroe in the points, man.
That is a ton of points.
Monroe in the points. I mean, we're going to see, is it a game where Fournette's going to get loose? No. Is he going to strike another Heisman post? We don't know. But it should be a good game. But I'll take Monroe in the points. 31, that's a lot of points, man.
Absolutely.
A lot of points.
Abilene Christian and Troy.
Man.
Are they calling this a draw?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a toss-up game, man. But Troy hasn't looked good. Troy has not looked good. This has got to be one that Troy pulls out. I gotta think Troy will pull this out.
If Troy doesn't pull this out,
their season's in the toilet.
That's what I was going to ask you. What does it do for the rest of the season?
Their season's in the toilet. Yeah, their season's in the toilet. If they go 3, their season's in the toilet. So they've got to pull this one out.
The midshipmen at the Bobcats, Texas State.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that 10 points.
Me too. I thought that would be a little more.
I thought that would be a little more. So I'm liking Navy by 2 touchdowns.
And then, of course, New Mexico State and then Texas El Paso.
Go Miners. Go Miners. Yeah, baby.
What is it about Texas El Paso and you?
Go Miners. That's my ultimatum, man.
Is it really?
Yeah, I thought I told you that.
No, I knew it was a tomato, but I didn't know it was your ultimatum.
That's my ultimatum, man. That's the place. UTEP. Go Miners. Little man with a pickaxe.
Yeah, with a stadium built in a hill.
Stadium built on the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
It's great. Go Miners.
Go Miners.
Go Miners.
Go Miners. That wraps up.
That's good.
That's the end of this.
Go Miners.
We're going to take one more break. I think Gary said we had like 10 minutes a minute ago. Well, we're over, but we're going to take another break. We'll come back with one real quick segment because because I do want to talk about the playoff system for just a second with Darren. So we'll be back right after these sponsors.
When looking for an Alabama Eastern Shore hotel, you'll find ideal accommodations at Fairfield Inn and Suites. Staying fit is easy with our indoor pool and fitness center. Our hotel offers suites with separate living and sleeping areas, luxurious bedding, complimentary internet, and free local calls. The Courtyard Mobile Spanish Fort offers ideal accommodations for business or leisure travel. Enjoy a hearty breakfast or dinner at our Bistro Cafe. When looking for Gulf Shore accommodations for corporate travel, weekend getaways, or family vacations, you'll find first-rate service and a friendly staff at the Courtyard Mobile Spanish Fort.
Red Cat Racing. Fast. Affordable. Fun. Now available at 8730 RC Park and Hobby Shop, Pensacola, Florida.
Myself, Paul Marini, with my co-host Darren Patterson for this season. He didn't know that yet, but he's just been recruited. Thank you, Sandy.
For no pay. No pay.
It's in the mail, man. You didn't check your box this
I'll check when
morning.
I get
I'm telling
home,
you,
Paul.
it was there. Just don't
At least a
touch it.
shirt. At least get a shirt.
Okay, well, we'll get with these guys real quick.
Okay.
I want to end the show and talk about the playoff system and how it affects teams in the Sun Belt, because it just became more difficult
Yes.
for Sun Belt, Conference USA, Mountain West, and those guys to make it to the big game.
It didn't just become more difficult. It's always been more difficult for teams from those venues to get there. When you pull the top 25 down each year, who are your teams there? Alabama, Michigan, Notre Dame, Texas, A&M. You got the same people that's been there, the big money schools.
But in the past, you have had Boise State,
Boise State
make a run for
won't
a
have 'em
decent bowl
again.
game. Right, and that's my point now.
Won't happen
You have
again. They're going to
taken-
make sure it doesn't happen again. That was not something people wanted to have. They did not want Boise State to be the bowl busters. I would, as much as I would love to see a small school get an opportunity to play for it all, not going to happen, Paul. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen in our lifetime, that's for sure. Boise State, that was the perfect storm. Everything lined up. All the karma, everything lined up. But as far as the powers that be, man, and the powers that be is not the NCAA, it's CBS and ESPN. And you need to realize that. It's about the money. Those are the guys calling the shots. And they don't want to see Boise State there. They don't want no bad juju, bad karma. It's not, no. We want Alabama, Notre Dame. We want Southern Cal. I mean, it's too bad.
All of a sudden, those teams just had so much more meaning when you just put the whole fist thing in it, and
Yeah.
it's just amazing how you just did that.
That's because
I mean, I'm voting for them right now.
no, you got to, man.
I'm putting them in. I wasn't going to put them in. I'm doing it right now.
It's a good thing. I thank you very much.
I thank you for showing up.
Oh, always. It's good. Had fun.
Guys, that's going to do it for tonight's show. As we're running over, we want to remind everybody, stay tuned. In about 10 minutes,
Send bail
The-
money for Ken.
PB&J show will air, and also go to our website at 6:45 for all you guys wanting to see high school football. Go to the Deuce, as Escambia will be playing Rutherford live at 6:45 on the Deuce. Big game as the school is rallying to save their head coach. And join in Tuesday night, everybody. We will be streaming the school board meeting live after we were told not to. So, I'm telling you right now,
Send bail money
super
for Paul.
attendant, I will be there. We will be streaming it. You said we could not bring the cameras, so we won't. But we will get the message out regardless. Tuesday night, 6:05 is the meeting of the school board. If you can make it there, wear your orange in support of Coach Willie Spears and the Escambia Gators as they try to remove him from his position. For myself and Darren Patterson, till we meet again, you've been watching Inside Sunbelt Football live from Fairfield Inn and Suites, Spanish Fort, Alabama. We'll catch you later.
Been good. Bye-bye.